What's up, everyone? Welcome back. So, Deltarune, Chapter 5 is shaping up to be an incredibly significant chapter, maybe even the most important in the entire game. And today, we're going through 7 major theories, prophecy connections, and lore drops that could completely change our thoughts about Chapter 5, and maybe change how we theorize the rest of the game. We've got the end of a route, the most anticipated event in the game occurring, a stylish beard that might signal something terrifying. Yes, really. And a final theory so dark, it connects 3 of the most mysterious characters in Deltarune into... I guess you will see soon. Quick shout out before we get going. Most of these theories are ones I've put together myself, but a couple of them came out of fellow theorists and the internet. Big credit to the creators for them, and shout out to you guys watching, especially my subscribers. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with that empty clip. In the Chapter 5 teaser, we see Kris in a fight against no opponent, and the bullet pattern is identical to the knife pattern we associate with Flowey's Psy and Soul phase. But here's the theory. This isn't Flowey at all. This is Kris fighting the soul, fighting us, fighting you. Remember this knife? Kris carries their Lightworld knife with them seemingly at all times. We've seen them use it to eat Toriel's pie and rip open the dark fountain at the end of Chapter 2. It's not just a random prop for game design weapons. It's one of the most significant items in the Wierd route. And I believe Kris is about to turn it against the one force that's been controlling their every move since the start of the Wierd route. Us. Why now? Because Kris has hit their breaking point. Every choice we've forced them to make, every line we've made them say, it's all building toward an act of open rebellion. And in Chapter 5, Kris fights back. And just to be clear, this fight looks like it's tied specifically to the Wierd route. If you're playing things normally, there's a good chance you won't see this battle at all. Okay, now here's where things get really interesting. Because there's actual evidence in the game's website that the Wierd route might not go all the way to the end of Deltarune. It's highly likely to end in Chapter 5. During the Spampton Sweepstakes event, people found a hidden significance counter tied to Wierd route progression, showing which chapters are the most significant to the Wierd route. And that counter ends at 5. 5. As in Chapter 5. The theory here is that this isn't a coincidence. It's a hard-coded point of no return. The Wierd route has an end, and that end is this chapter. So how does it actually end? This is where our Kris versus you theory comes back into play. Picture it. Kris's anger toward the soul, toward you, has been building for chapters. In the climax of the Wierd route, that resentment explodes. Kris turns on the soul directly and wins. By destroying the soul, Kris doesn't just escape our control. They sever the connection that's been steering this entire route. The Wierd route doesn't just end, it gets permanently cut off, leaving the world in apocalypse and Kris completely on their own for the first time in the entire game. Okay, this next one is the big structural shift we think is coming. An event so massive it's going to completely reshape how Chapter 6 predictions go. It's, of course, the roaring. And here's the weird part. Depending on which route you're on, the roaring may get triggered in a really different way. On the Wierd route, it all comes down to Noelle. She has been getting stronger constantly throughout the Wierd route, and the theory is that whether it's out of desperation, manipulation, or just an uncontrolled surge of unused dark magic, a bit like Birdley's Snowgrave, Noelle is the one who sets off the roaring. And here's the kicker. The roaring might be exactly what allows Kris to survive without the soul at all, like we have found. Which means Noelle's breakdown might be the literal mechanism that lets the Wierd route's ending, Kris destroying the soul, actually be possible. On the normal route, though, it's more direct. The Roaring Knight themselves is most likely the one who triggers the roaring at the end of Chapter 5. 2 different causes, same result, but distinct endings. And now, we have to talk about the beard. I'm not joking. According to the prophecy, Jockington is going to grow a beard in Chapter 5, and the timing of this beard is likely going to be a big deal. I believe it happens right before the roaring kicks off, or right before the flower shop Darkworld gets discovered. It sounds weird. A beard growing on a Jockington could genuinely be the visual cue that tells us things are about to get very, very dark. Literally. And speaking of ominous signs, Toby Fox's most recent newsletter ended on a note that we immediately latched onto. Without looking at the exact wording, the gist of it was, enjoy the sunset while it lasts, and let's have one more fun adventure before things change for good. Sounds nice on the surface, right? But we think this is Toby telling us, directly, that Chapter 5 is that one last fun adventure, and the sun going down completely represents the light world getting permanently swallowed by darkness. The light world is consumed by the roaring, and that lines up with something else. It was directly said to us that Chapter 6 has overworld minigames. If Hometown has been consumed by the darkness, that would explain why we'd suddenly need minigames just to navigate Hometown. So if the roaring is coming at the end of Chapter 5, where does Chapter 5's initial dark world even open up? The leading theory, Asgore's flower shop. Think about it. Asgore has been running Flower King this whole game, mostly in the background. But theorists believe a dark fountain opens inside the shop itself, possibly torn open by the roaring night, or by Asgore himself, in a moment of rage, family stress, Toriel's dating life, a threat to the one thing he has left. Any of these could be the spark. And this isn't just a vibes-based guess, by the way. There's actual evidence for it sitting right there in Chapter 4. Gerson straight up tells us the next chapter is going to take place somewhere flowery. And remember that big prophecy mural we got shown in Chapter 4? One of those panels shows Asgore holding a flower. Put those two together, and yeah, the flower shop theory pretty much writes itself. And the aesthetic? The teaser showed us a dark world built around Zen gardens, Japanese architecture, and floral imagery. Basically, Asgore's entire personality turned into a dark world. If this happens, it could be one of the most visually distinct dark worlds in the entire game. One more piece for this section. The mystery item. We know Seam has been collecting shadow crystals to eventually craft something tied to the shadow mantle. The theory is simple. Chapter 5's secret boss drops the final crystal. With the full set complete, Seam can finally finish the mystery item right before everything goes sideways in Chapter 6, giving the party exactly the tool they'll need to survive what's coming. Okay, quick detour. If you're playing the normal route and avoiding all that weird route chaos, Chapter 5 still probably has a solid boss lineup, and it's definitely themed around the flower shop. First, Asgore. After an entire game of him being mostly off to the side, it's almost confirmed Chapter 5 finally gives us a major confrontation with him, possibly as the chapter's secret boss, set inside his own shop and fueled by the family drama. Second, a Floey-like entity. In the flower shop, there is literally a golden flower, just like Floey, in the center of his flower connection. It may as well be multiple Floeys due to the multiple flowers in the shop. Third, a variant of Tenna. And this one has actual proof from Toby himself. In a post, he said a developer tester literally said, "What's the opposite of I miss Tenna?" If a developer is relieved to be done with a fight and the TV just randomly sitting in his shop, that tells you everything. This variation Tenna is shaping up to be a brutal, vine-tangled boss that fits the plant shop theme perfectly. And finally, Sans. The theory here is that his relationship with Toriel finally comes to a head, drawing the attention and the anger of a very protective, very on-edge dreamer family. And now, the theory that ties everything together. Doesn't matter which chapter this is linked to, I think I found identity of the Roaring Night. Most people point to Carol or Rudy, and look, that's a totally reasonable guess. They both have deer antlers, just like the night. But there's a much darker, much more unseen thought that popped into my head one day. One that not only explains the identity of the Roaring Night, but the disappearance of 3 unseen characters in Deltarune. It starts with our 3 missing characters, Des Holiday, Papyrus, and W.D. Gaster. 3 names. 3 characters who, in their own ways, just vanished without explanation. The theory goes like this. Somewhere south of town, there's the shelter, and inside it, Gaster has been running an experiment. In an attempt to find test subjects, he kidnaps Papyrus and Des Holiday, traps them in the shelter, and just like Alfie's, in a desperate attempt to harness the power of determination, injects determination into all three of them, himself included. And we know what determination does to living beings when it's used like this. We saw it in Undertale with the amalgamates. Bodies melt, bodies fuse. The theory is that Gaster, Papyrus, and Des don't die in that bunker. They merge into one being. But that's not the end of it. Determination isn't just dangerous. It's the exact force that opens dark fountains in Deltarune. So when these three fuse together, the concentration of determination in that moment doesn't just create a monster, it tears open a tiny dark fountain inside their new body. A vessel Darkworld, sealed inside the amalgamate. And that's why the Roaring Night looks the way it does. Des Holiday's deer skull is the head, Papyrus's tall, skeletal frame is the body, and Gaster's void black hands. And here's the detail that, if true, is genuinely chilling. Because this being has a dark fountain physically sealed inside itself, it can project its full Darkworld armor even while walking around in the light world. It doesn't need a fountain nearby. It is the fountain. If this theory is even partially true, the Roaring Night isn't some random new villain. It's three characters we've been wondering about since Chapter 1, fused into a walking dark world. Real quick before we wrap up, a few things I'm hoping for, even if there's less to no evidence. A solo battle between Sans and Ralse. Two characters who clearly know more than they're letting on, finally put in a 1 versus 1. What would they say to each other? A Japanese-inspired soundtrack for the Flower Shop Darkworld, mixing traditional Japanese instruments like the shamisen or shakuhachi with Toby Fox's style. If the aesthetic theory is right, this could be one of the most memorable OSTs in the whole game. And finally, an open-world, dark world. Instead of the linear hallways we're used to, imagine a large map for the Flower Shop Darkworld, or even the post-Roaring Light world. It might be exactly what each chapter needs. So let's recap. Kris might be about to fight you directly. The Wierd route might end forever in this chapter. The roaring is coming no matter what. Just through different people depending on your choices. A new dark world might bloom right out of Asgore's flower shop. Chapter 6 might become a speed run. And the Roaring Night might be the three unseen characters fused into something none of us saw coming. That's 7 theories, and honestly, it's barely anything. Which theory do you think is the most likely? Drop your predictions in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe for more Undertale and Deltarune content, and I'll see you in the next one.